means this is an activity that you do too much of it, so much so that it imposes something bad on the society. So this is a bad, this one is a good. Sometimes you hear it explained. Then therefore, the government have to make you cut down. For example, pollution or traffic congestion, they start imposing all this, fast lane if you carpool and things like that, penalty fines, all that. So if the fine or penalty or tax is being imposed, then people have incentive to cut down from a private quantity level to a lower level. This is say 100, this is say 50. So then therefore, there is a very special role that this external cost is playing. What is it? It is to correct the negative bring it back to smaller numbers. Because if you impose a fine on people, then people do less of it, right? Because if there's no law, hey, everybody could speed, on the interstate. And then suddenly there's a law, and suddenly there's a trooper watching you, giving you a ticket. Then you do less of it. Then people slow down and say, whoa, 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 there's a cop in front, Slow down. See, that's what it is. Same thing. So you could say speeding, or you're driving. Okay, so that's I gave you the gist already. So in the case of negative externality, too much is being done for the activities that cause negative externality. So therefore, we have to impose fines, all that. This is when law and economics come together. So when you impose a fine or penalty or tax or whatever, tolls, then they cut down to this point right here. So in the same token, for positive externality, what are some examples I mentioned the other day? Help me out, everybody. Anybody? Sorry? Education, very good. What else? Healthcare. And I gave you two more at least. Flu shots, yes. Which what people trying to do now, vaccination, things like that. I talk about landscaping, I talk about Christmas light during Christmas season. Okay, so in this case, since this is good, this is the bad. So you want to raise that social marginal benefit up. Now, this is how you know, because positive is on the demand side, the benefit side. So you raise this up. So each time you raise it up. And so your social marginal benefit would be your private marginal benefit plus external benefit. And that external benefit is being measured by this distance here, the vertical distance, and of course, it creates a triangle, and that triangle is your so-called dead weight loss. In both cases, you have dead weight loss because it's not efficient at the private level. So then you have to produce more of it. People do not invest enough in education. Your community does not invest enough in education. There are people who should be in school but not. There are people who should be in college but they're not, So then what did the government do? So this is your external benefit. Example of it would be subsidy. Yes. Free education, you subsidize education, you subsidize your healthcare and Medicare, Medicaid, right? Give people free healthcare checkup and flu shot, same thing, free sometimes. Why? Because they have this positive externality. If one person is healthy, the other person's healthy, and so on and so forth, but they're not paying for it. So therefore, this is a case of underproduction. For the sake of your exam coming up, underproduction means that this is an activity that you're not producing enough. Everybody should get your education. Come on. Government's paying for it. Obama's paying for it. Oops. Then you go to socially optimal level by throwing out subsidy. Okay? Healthcare, the same thing. Vaccination, flu shot. So if government gives something free or subsidize it, then hey, more people will be doing it. True? Yeah. See, otherwise, what's in for me? A lot of people will ask, human nature is selfish. So if government subsidize, yeah, we'll do it. Let's all go. There's a free lunch there, free dinner. Who wouldn't want to go? If right, if it is really good food, and ahead of time, you say it's free. And why? Because you want to encourage the student to come and subsidize it, because it's got positive externality. Okay, like all the speaker series I've been asking you to go, right? They all had free food a lot of time, and well, yeah, it's good for you because you earn credit too towards your passport program. So that's the gist behind it, okay? And I should point out that in both cases you have this bad triangle. This one is also bad. This is also bad. Just because it's called good, it still have that dead weight loss there. So in other words, you still have some sort of inefficiency until you achieve your private market production, achieve the socially optimal level of production. So that's the gist about it. The whole chapter is about that. Okay. So let's look at optimal amount of externality. And it's not zero. So this is what this is trying to say. A lot of the time we think, optimal means like the best amount. So it's not zero, it's usually greater than zero. You look at all these oil spills, environmental problems they experience in Gulf of Mexico, Alaska, all that. So the people like Exxon, big oil company, have people out there cleaning up the water, because of the spill. Well, have you ever asked yourself, like, how long are they going to do it? And it costs money to clean up environmental mess, the waste. And so they could do it for 1 month. Okay, and fishermen still say, oh yeah, it's still so dark. Look at those birds, they're like drained with this oil, poor thing, they're dying. And so, okay, 1 more month of cleaning, 3 months of cleaning. And it costs money, right? So there's a marginal cost involved there. What about marginal benefit? So now after some point, let's say 6 months later, you're still cleaning. It's already very clean, You're not gonna clean until it is totally zero, because it's not possible. Well, it's just like, if you have a date tonight, you say, well, this afternoon I'm gonna spend time cleaning up my dormitory room. That's what you do, right, Chris? Maybe, yeah, right. So if you spend time cleaning, the first hour you clean up, and it looks pretty good until your roommate comes in and make fuss and say, oh yeah, look at this, whoop, whoop. And look at all this under the bed. You just sweep everything under the bed. How many of you do that? Open up the closet door, everything falls out. Open out the drawer, can't even open that drawer, because that's what people do. Is say, oh, mom and dad are coming, sweep everything under the carpet and quickly, yeah, everything is good, I clean up. Okay, you only spend about an hour. So your roommate make fun of you. So you say, okay, I'm gonna clean up for 1 more hour. Okay, so everything looks better, but after a while, right, the marginal cost of cleaning takes time to clean up. After 3 hours of cleaning is good enough. Nobody's gonna know the difference between I have cleaned up for 3 hours versus I have cleaned up for 4 hours. So in other words, you're not going to produce zero dust, right? So this is what this is saying. No matter what you clean up, it's likely to be greater than zero, optimal amount. If you try to get rid of pollution, you got both benefit and cost. Because, with all these hours, additional hours you clean up, you might as well study. Because there's a marginal benefit in studying instead of marginal cost of cleaning up that has the same result as previous hour. So the best policy would be to get rid of pollution until the cost of further reduction is equal to the benefit of further reduction. So the cleanup effort should follow, once again, your cost-benefit principle or criterion. Marginal benefit equals a marginal cost. That's all that it is saying. There's no such thing as zero being the optimal amount of pollution. Okay, seen that one, so I'm skipping that. Next, I want to introduce a problem known as tragedy of commons. Now, most of you know the word commons. Commons is like it's an English term. You heard about literacy commons, right? Some of you have it on campus. Anyway, commons is like a field. So where you could send cows, there's grasses here. So this is oh boy, trying to draw a cow. Okay. It doesn't look quite like a cow, but that's a cow, okay? So you send one cow, I'm sorry, if we have artists, I'll invite you to come up here, but I'm trying to make my point, a black cow, okay? So if you send one cow to the commons, this cow will become fat, eventually, you sell them by the weight, so you get money. But if you send 2 cows to the common, there's a little bit of competition now, depending on how big that field. What about if you send 10? That's a lot of competition. So at the end of the day, if you send 100, let's just say, then there's competition, right, among the cow. So then at the end of the month, when you try to get money by selling the cow is not as fat because of the competition. But a lot of time when farmers or private individuals send their cows to the common, they don't take that into consideration. They just think of it as themselves, like my cow, my only cow will get fed. But no, they're not gonna get fed because there's competition from these other people. Everybody say the same thing. Vince, you have a cow, you say the same thing. My cow's gonna get fed. Yes, if your cow is the only cow in the common, but no. In this case, we got lots of cows, because everybody think that it's free. So the word commons means free, okay? Free for grazing. For the cow, that is. So when no one owns the property, and that is the problem, we call it a commons, the opportunity cost of using it is not considered, so the use of the property will increase all the way until marginal benefit equals to 0. In other words, you squeeze out the last bit of grass that's available. Have you ever seen people, have you ever driven by a place like kind of like remote forest? And then you kind of like enjoying the view, and all of a sudden you smell something real bad. And you look again and say, oh my goodness, what is this? You saw this pile of trash. Why would people do that? Because this is a common part. People are selfish, they just dump all their trash there. Are they allowed to do it? No. But if there is no property line, right? It's a common part. People do that. Out of selfish reason. Or what if you put a fence up and you put a sign say, intruder will be shot? What happened next? The next time you drive and I say, whoa, how pretty. The smell's gone and nothing. Hey, big difference there. That's what this is about. When there's no one owns a property, people will trash it until have you ever gone to a park where they have berries and you look at these berries, right? They get picked too early. Why? Because if you don't pick these berries, somebody else will. So they'll pick it before it's ripe. They're ripe. And you say, oh, wait an hour, I'm gonna go to my car, get the bags, and by the time you get out, they say, whoa, what happened? Somebody beat me to it. Even though it's not right, I was going to wait for them to be ripened, but no, someone else beat me to it, even though it's not right. Hey, so that's what it is, selfish. Right? The use of the property will increase until marginal benefit equals to 0. That's because these are common property, common parks, There's no property rights as being assigned. So one person use of commonly held property imposes an external cost, like our negative externality on others, reducing the property's value. Right, if they keep trashing it, then of course the property value goes down, you know. Who would want to drive out to a neighborhood? I did yesterday, because I was trying to give this donation of school supplies to this elementary school somewhere in Lumberton. I think trying to remember that area. How many of you are familiar with Lumberton? There's a road called Lovett. Anybody? Nobody? Okay, anyway. Well, I drove by that road on the way because I have to reroute, you know. So on my way there, I saw, gosh, like flood damage. There were people who dump out stuff on your driveway, just stuff, furnitures, wood furnitures, mirrors, and beds, lots of beds being dumped. That's, you know, somebody and some relief organization came along, had to haul away all this stuff, you know. So, okay, so that's what it is. Now, grazing land and oceans. The ocean does not have a boundary. So a lot of time, how many of you, oh yeah, you know the movie called Pirates of the Caribbean. How many of you have seen it? Most of you have seen it. Okay, very good. So I could tell you a story a little bit. Example in which to help you to understand a little bit. Do you know why? Have you ever thought about why pirates are always at large? They could do anything they want on the ocean because they're king of the ocean, right? And one problem is because if they're being caught, nations will argue, you know, this country, maybe Egypt, who's next to Egypt? Israel, yeah. Well, that's not a good one to use because that's controversial. So anyway, two countries, A and B, okay? So if you get caught in the international water, the pirates get caught, and they will fight. Two countries will fight and say, oh yeah, that crime is not committed on my water. It's your problem. The pirates know that. Say, ha ha ha! I'm taking advantage of that. That is, it's very hard to draw the international territory line on the ocean. Everybody knows that. So, so that's one problem there. So let's look at this example, and then I have more, and then the last thing I want to talk about is positional externality. I may not even have time. Okay, very quickly, this example is called Tragedy of Comedy. You could also look it up in the book. I want to do this quite fast. So there are 5 residents in the village. Okay, each one of them has a savings of $100. They have 2 choices. One choice is to send the cow to the common, like what we talked about, and then feed the cow, and then a year later sell the cow, so that therefore you see a 2-year-old still. That's a young cow. So then it depends on the weight of the cow, right? The fatter or heavier it is, you get more money. If there's only one cow, but if there are 5, competition, like I say, you sell, you know, a year later you get less money from it. So the income from per cow, okay, is 26 because this is a marginal income. Okay, so take 126 minus 100 for each, you got this number there. Okay, so now the other decision is with that $100, you could put it in the bank, and the bank will pay 13% interest. That's pretty high. So that means a year later you will earn 113. Okay, got it? So that means $13 is the additional interest payment you would get if you put it in the bank rather than investing in a cow. Okay? So now that you know that number, the magic number here is 13. So the investment decisions are individual and public. In other words, everybody is selfish in this case, right? So would there be a socially optimal solution? So now the answer here is, if you look at this, right, you compare that $13. So in this case, you say, oh yeah, it's better to earn it by sending the cow to the common. So if there are 2 cows, the second person say the same thing. 19 is still higher than 13. 16 is still higher than 13. The last one, the 4th one, 13 is equal to 13. We're assuming that the preference here is to invest in a cow. So therefore, you end up having 4 steers or young cows. which is 52. How do we get 52? We take $13 times 4, okay? Now the last one, this person says it's not worth it to invest in a cow. It is better to put the money in the bank, okay, to earn that $13 interest because 13 is higher than 11. So that's how we have only one bond. That last person drop out from selling cow but would invest in the bond that would give him a return of $13 a year later rather than $11 on the cow. That's a fifth person decision. So there we added up, the total income is 65. We take 65 divided by 5, use your calculator if you want. We get the average income of 13. So the next example that I want to show you is, we say, in this case, everybody is making decision by individually. You act individually and selfishly to maximize the income. You're not looking at everybody like, this is my brother, this is my neighbor, you know, we're in this together, that sort of thing. Okay, so here, this is a second example now, which is a little bit different from the first one. And as you can see, the first 3 columns are the same. We added the last 2 columns here. So we represented that, what you saw earlier, here, so you could look at it. So now, this is a case in which everybody acts collectively together. You're my brothers. Okay, so we're in this together. So we're gonna take into consideration your benefit as well as my benefit. So if you do that right, actually your calculation would be different. So look at this again. So in this case, we say total capital income. We look at it as a whole, all 5 people. So in this case, the first one, 26. The second one, you will look at it by taking 19 times 2, because there are 2 cows. You look at it together as our total income as a village, in the village. So 38, 16 times 3, you get 48, 13 times 4, 52, 11 times 5, 55. So you now get this new column, we call it total capital income. And then lastly, the marginal income, you know how to do that. First one is 26, the next one is, we get 12 by taking 38 minus 26. Everybody got that part? How do we get that 10 right there?
48 minus 38.
Okay, very good. Who say that? Anthony, thank you. Okay, the last one, 52 minus 4, so all that. Okay, so now you're comparing that magic number, $13. Remember that $13 is how much you will earn by putting the money in the bond in the bank. So if you compare it, you say, whoa, hang on just a second. Only the first one is good. The second one drops out right away because 12 is less than 13. So in this case, you only invest in one young cow, which is, whoa, 26. The next 4 people actually say, oh, we're just gonna buy the bond. So then you buy the bonds at $13, $13 times 4, get 52, add it up, 78. Wow, right away that number is higher than 65 when you act individually. So when you act collectively, you do better because if you take 78 divided by 5, you get $15.60, which is higher than $13. So in other words, you know, if you care about your neighbor, you take, you know, you make a decision collectively. Together as a group, you actually end up doing better economically. Yes, question?
For the individual, would it not be better to do 3 steer and 2 bonds? Because if you do 4,
Are you talking about this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was the earlier example, right? So the earlier example, we only look at this. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. We're assuming that when the number is 13, you're indifferent, right? You could buy a bond or you could invest in a cow. We're assuming in this case that the preference is to buy a cow. So that's how I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the last one you invest in the bond. Not 3, 3, but 4, 1. 4 because all these numbers are greater than $13, which is the opportunity cost if you invest the bonds in the in the bank.
But if you're doing 4, then they're 13 apiece, right?
I'm sorry?
If you're doing 4 steer, they're 13 apiece.
Right,
But
so
if you do 3,
right,
they're
so-
16 apiece.
4 times 13, you get 52.
Right, but if
Now,
you,
but you have to go according to how much is that opportunity cost, right? That's how you do it, by using this criterion. Marginal benefit equals to marginal cost, right? Like that. So I hope that answers your question, because that's a criterion in which you would go by, rather than any other way. Okay, so this example is also in your book. Please look it up. So how do we solve this problem? Tragedy of the commons that we just said, and one of the way to solve it is by having a private ownership. Like I say, fence it up, put a sign there, intruder will be shot, then no problem. And then there's more example about this. That is, you could also auction out the land, and then the highest bidder will actually have incentive to consider the opportunity cost of grazing additional cows. So now today, you have something called zoning laws and other regulation that restrict the use of private property. So it can be used to maximize economic surplus. So all this is saying is that in order to solve all this problem, you must have a very clear property right, what we call property rights. I think I mentioned that already. Let's go to one more problem here. Okay, private ownership sometimes is impractical because, it's hard to put a borderline on the ocean, for example. So defining the private ownership right does not always solve the tragedy of the common, for example, harvesting timber on a remote public land. You see people do that all the time. And that's because there is no common, it's not easy to impose a private ownership. Harvesting whales in international waters. Well, you can look at this in Alaska, the blue whale. There's nothing you can do, right? I mean, like, if fishermen out there want to harvest the whale, even though it's protected, you're not supposed to touch it, they do it anyway, then you have to wait for months before you can have another one. So people don't think about the consequences they have on other people. Okay, controlling multinational environmental pollution, Mediterranean Sea. Okay, let me show you this picture here. So this is Mediterranean Sea. If you count the number of countries that border it, I won't take time to count because I want to go on to the next concept. There's about 13 to 14 countries. Now, there's one problem with pollution here because see, look at Libya and Egypt, they're so close together. And they don't have incentive to clean up pollution because they're so close to each other, because they say, well, the next hour when the wind blows, this pollution will flow to your water. Why should I clean up? There's no incentive. So there's a lot of problem in that area because of this big economic problem, which is also an environmental problem, which actually is an economic problem that people do not want to clean up because there's no incentive. Next, I want to introduce something called positional externality, and this applies to a lot of sports that you like. In this case, let me just read the definition very quickly. This happens when increase in one's performance reduces the expected reward of another situation in which reward depends on relative performance. Now, you heard about in a team, like soccer team, I don't know, like basketball team, football team, you could hire as many players as you want. A lot of time people think, oh yeah, if you grab another good players, then we're doing better. What if the other team also do the same? Then you're more or less the same. Your relative performance is the same. So therefore, they have something called roster limits in sports. So who knows, anybody knows what is a roster limits for NBA, basketball?
It's like 14.
There's a number.
It's like 14 or 15, I think.
Okay, I think you're pretty close. What about Major League Baseball? Anybody know? Huh?
40.
40? Okay, how about NFL? Any football players here? Soccer has a limit, the International Soccer Association. Okay, here's the answer, right here. NFL is about 53, NBA is about 12, and Major League Baseball is about 25. So, why do they have that? What's the problem with that? Because if they don't do that, people will invest it excessively. That's the problem. They say, I will hire another player. Now, what in the football game, sometimes players cheat, they take a steroid. They're not supposed to. They get bigger. And so now, if your team members take steroid, you do better. The other team also do the same. Then at the end of the day, your performance is more or less the same. So what's the point? So to help solving this kind of what we call positional externality, you have to have some kind of limit. So for example, roster limits on the sports team, and then you have campaign limits. Oh yeah, we saw too many ads, you know, my mailbox is jammed out with all the candidates' propaganda, and so is the TV ads is bought up by the two candidates, you know. Hey, every minute they could expose the viewer, they will do that. So there has to be a limit. Otherwise, they'll use all the taxpayers' money will be used, or private donation or whatever, will be used to the, inefficiently. So we have such a thing called campaign limits. Here it is. Campaign spending limit. This is how much you could spend advertising. So same thing with mandatory starting dates for kindergarten. And spelling bee, same thing. You know, like if they don't limit it, then basically there will be excessive investment. So here it is. Because positional arms race produce inefficient outcome, people have incentive to curtail them. Because you could hire one more player, and when does it stop? The other team also hire one more. You hire two more, the other team also hire two more. And hey, at the end of the day, it's going to be the same for the fans, you know. So, but you are investing excessive, inefficiently by going a step further. And there are some other application, what we call social norms. So we say this is called positional externality. So how do we curtail it? How do we stop it, prevent it? We call it positional arms control. We use that term to describe all the control variables. So there's such a thing called nerd norms. How many of you call yourself a nerd? Oh, some of you actually do. That's really not a very good connotation because, you know, a nerd sometimes has a connotation that you are not socially as competent. So, and therefore, you know, when it's interesting, maybe the time has changed, but in the last 10, 20 years, nobody wants to admit that you are a nerd. Fashion norms, norms of taste, and norms against vanity. Okay, let's talk about tattoo. How does a society prevent tattoo?
Age.
By age, okay, very good. Is it 16 years old?
I
Okay.
think it's like 16 with a parent.
Okay, there is a age limit there with a parent consent or something. Now, why do they do that? If they don't do that, the kids will just pierce everywhere, ear, nose, tongue, and body parts that nobody could see. And that's none of my business. That's your business. But, you know, when does it stop? So look at this. One of my students did her presentation. This was like a couple of years ago. Very good presentation. You know, she did the research on this lizard man and lady say, well, yeah, they had a lot of piercing, a lot of tattoo on their body. They're attracting attention, but then say, in her research, she found out that at the end of the day, you know, these people could not function socially. They're famous, you know, under the cameras, they're good, you know. It's for show, yeah. But at the end of the day, they are not happy because, so therefore, so there's a little bit of applications, okay? I didn't have time to cover it in length, but please, I think this concept is rather straightforward. Read it at the end. And so on Friday, I'm going to start a new chapter on information economics. Thank you. See you on Friday.
must have been doing